Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the public council meeting for the city of Mount Pearl, September 22nd of 2020, the first day of autumn. Summer is officially over and autumn has arrived. Tropical Storm Teddy hasn't touched our beaches yet, and let's hope he's less ferocious than he has been. So welcome. I see all my council colleagues and our directors and senior management here today. Nice to see everyone. We also have some special guests that I'll acknowledge a little bit later. Council, before we get to our formal agenda tonight, there's a couple of items that we're going to do in advance. And the first has to do with the loss of one of our own in the city of Mount Pearl. Tonight, we mourn the passing of Harvey Hodder, former mayor of Mount Pearl, leader in our community, and friend to so many people who knew him. Former Mayor Hodder served one term as councillor, one term as deputy mayor, and then he went on to serve as 4 terms as the mayor of our fine city. His dedication to our city, for those of us who knew Harvey, was one of purpose. He truly believed in the strength of a community, of our community, and how important it is for people to have a sense of home and a sense of belonging. And our community, built from the dedication of people like Harvey Hodder, will dearly miss him. As we join the many who grieve this loss, including his family and his friends, we must take pause to acknowledge and celebrate all that Harvey accomplished and the legacy he left in the city of Mount Pearl, one that will be remembered for many, many years to come. Please join me in a moment of silence as we honor our former mayor, Mr. Harvey Hodder. Thank you, folks. Now, as we move on to our next item, and I know Mayor Hodder would certainly be proud of this next item that we have to bring up, because I know all of our council members and our senior staff and staff in general are very proud of this. Tonight, council, we have some special guests that are going to join our meeting here today. Just to acknowledge the folks with us, we have Mr. Andy Fillmore, Member of Parliament and Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Infrastructure and Communities. Welcome, Andy. Nice to have you with us. We have Dr. Patricia McCarney, President and CEO for World Council on City Data. So welcome, Dr. Patricia. And next we have James Patava, VP of Public Affairs and International Relations for World Council on City Data. And council, these fine folks are presenting the city of Mount Pearl with a platinum certification under the International Organization for Standardization 37120, Sustainable Cities and Communities. This international recognition is awarded to cities that reach the highest standard in collecting and sharing independently verified city data. So this is quite an accomplishment for our city. And without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our guests from the WCCD, the World Council on City Data. And they have a little presentation and would like to say some words. So with that, I'll turn it over to our guests. Thank you.
Patricia, I guess, shall I start and then pass it over to you?
As you wish.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, it's lovely to be with you this evening, or this afternoon, I should say. It's so dark here with the tropical storm, it feels like evening already. My name is Andy Phillimore. I'm the Member of Parliament for another of Atlantic Canada's great communities, Halifax, and I have the privilege of being the Parliamentary Secretary to Canada's Minister of Infrastructure and Communities, Catherine McKenna. But first and always, I want you to know that I'm a planner, a city planner and a town planner. So this is a very interesting subject matter to me. We're all here with you today on the very important topic of communities. And I'm so happy to be here with Patricia McCarney and James Patava of the World Council on City Data. And I'd also like to acknowledge that Nathan Besner from Minister McKenna's office is on the line with us too. All we're missing is Seamus O'Regan and we'd be all set. Well, specifically, we're here to congratulate you on achieving the ISO standard for municipal data, as we've just heard. As you likely know, the Government of Canada invested $3 million in the Data for Canadian Cities pilot project to build capacity for Canadian municipalities to better plan and implement their investments in public infrastructure. And this funding has allowed Patricia and James and the World Council on City Data team to work with you and 14 other municipalities across Canada to become certified under ISO 37120, the first international standard for city data. This certification is going to support Mount Pearl in using evidence-based decision-making that's grounded in global standards when making decisions on planning projects. And we all know that's important because infrastructure provides real benefits to real people, allowing them to live healthier, greener lives, to grow their businesses, and to keep their communities connected. Speaking of that, our $180 billion Investing in Canada plan is delivering on our promise to build sustainable and resilient communities. This plan invests in thousands of projects, creates jobs across the country, and builds stronger communities. Because of these investments, and thanks to your dedication to this ISO certification, Canada will remain among the best places in the world to live, work, and raise a family. And I want to again say thank you so much for allowing me to share this time with you. And I look forward to seeing you in Mount Pearl one day soon, I hope. Okay, Patricia and James, over to you.
Thank you very much. Yes, Phil and Nathan, it's really lovely to have you both today, and to all of the council. It's a wonderful opportunity for us today. It's a very happy occasion, I must say, because this is really a tribute to the hard work of the staff and across all of the city departments that came together with our team in Toronto at the World Council on City Data to really fast track and very intensively prepare this data for ISO certification. So I'm just thrilled to be with you today. I do wish I could be there in person, because normally when we have the opportunity, we would like to do this in person and present the ISO certification in a nice large frame, and it's a great document, and we present it and we shake hands and we have a photo op, all kinds of things at council. But fortunately, in this case, I'll not be able to do that. Probably next year, though, with hope. Fly ahead and do that. So I'm very pleased to begin. First, I want to congratulate the entire city of Mount Pearl on your WCCD ISO 37120 certification. You can go to the next slide. I think someone in your city is advancing it. Yes, okay. There we go. So congratulations on the certification. This is truly a demonstration of dedication.
Dr. McCarney, if I could just
Yes.
jump in.
Yes.
On my end, your audio is a little muffled.
Is it?
Yeah, so I'm just wondering, before you
Okay.
start, if there's something we can do to correct that.
Let me have a look.
How's that?
That sounds much better.
Much better?
Yes.
You know, you move from Teams to Zoom, and every one of them requires a different microphone.
You're clear as a
So,
bell now, so.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank
Yes.
you very much for letting me know.
Okay.
So again, I'll just say congratulations to the city of Mount Pearl on this incredible day to present you with the WCCD ISO 37120 certification. This is a true demonstration of your city's commitment and dedication to building high caliber data that will inform planning, inform management across the city, and drive a more sustainable prosperity into the future. And it's just truly a pleasure to be here with you all today. And I do wish we could be in person. James, is your internet okay if I hand it over to you to do a little bit of background on the WCCD, or shall I continue?
Absolutely, seems fine from my side.
Okay, I'll let you know if you start to fade.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Patricia, and members of council, PS Fillmore. It's really a pleasure to be here today. I just thought I would give you a bit of context on some of this incredible work that your city has been engaged in over the past year, and a little bit of background of who we are as the WCCD. As the parliamentary secretary mentioned, and as was in the introduction, the WCCD is rolling out the first ISO standard for city data to cities across the world. We were founded in 2014 as a not-for-profit, starting with 20 cities, and are now a network of over 100 cities across 35 countries. So Mount Pearl truly is joining a network of data-driven cities across the country, but of course globally as well. Next slide, please. The standard itself is divided into 19 thematic areas that have very much been driven by cities' input as to the exact sort of things that they want to measure, and to be able to measure in a totally quantifiable way. Each of the 104 indicators are just that: numeric city services and quality of life indicators that enable you to have apples to apples comparison with cities around the world. Next slide, please. Of course, the exciting reason we're here today is to congratulate you on your platinum certification, meaning that Mount Pearl, along with a select group of cities across the country and worldwide, has recorded 90 and above of the 104 indicators within the standard. And what that actually means is it's not so much as people might traditionally think a ranking of whether a city has the best air quality or the best public transit. It's purely a reflection on the data that you gather, its integrity, and its ability to be used to benchmark internally and against other cities from around the world. It also undergoes a very rigorous third-party verification process that the WCCD undertakes to make sure that this data is truly of the highest caliber. Next slide, please. The other thing I very briefly wanted to mention is through this work in developing ISO 37120, we are now operationalizing two new global standards, indicators for smart cities and indicators for resilient cities. This again was a city-driven request from us at the WCCD to try and come up with a standardized set of definitions and methodologies for two terms that have become somewhat nebulous over the years. So we're now equipping cities with these definitions to be able to truly assess themselves as a smart city. And of course, with the onset of this global pandemic, ISO 37123 indicators for resilient cities becomes even more important to communities so that they can better prepare for, respond to, and build back better from shocks and stresses. That work is actually also supported by our partners in the United Nations. If we could go to the next slide, please. Now, turning over to this incredible project that Parliamentary Secretary Fillmore and his ministry have supported us on today. This is truly a change moment at the WCCD and for the cities within the network, both in Canada and across the globe. We now have 30 Canadian cities in this network from coast to coast to coast, allowing you to benchmark with all of these cities, which is truly an exciting opportunity. Next slide, please. And while the minister isn't with us today, she has been very involved in this process throughout, as the parliamentary secretary mentioned, and is very close to this project. And she has included a quote in the press release that you'll be sending out today. Next slide, please. And I promise I'll turn it back over to Patricia in just a moment, but just to give you a view of what this project looks like. Year one was very much working with Cassie and other members of the staff within the city to collect this data, in fact, to set that baseline. Where this project gets truly exciting is as we move into year two and year three, where we can actually start to put the data to use to support your policy and planning and strategic priorities. And as we move into year three and beyond, we can actually start to look at trends and understanding the impact of investments made by both higher levels of government, by your city, and of course by the private sector. Slide, please. And then finally, before I turn it back to Patricia, just wanted to run quickly over some of these important uses of these indicators themselves. Of course, it's about helping to create data-driven municipalities while incentivizing performance within the city. Very importantly, it's also helping to inform and direct federal spending, provincial spending, and private sector investment as well. Extremely important. This data is really being put to use in Canada and across the world. Of course, job creation and economic development are a very important piece of this too, because you are truly able to harness this data to use it to market yourselves as both a sustainable city, but of course a city that pays attention to its metrics and tracks things year over years. The climate agenda is also very important, and of course, we're also working to help cities embrace global platforms like the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals at a local level. So with that, thank you very much for your time, and I'll turn it back over to Patricia to share a few highlights of the data with you.
Thank you very much, James. That was very fast and efficient. Next slide, please. I'll try to be the same. This is really the fun part of the presentation, may I say. This is the part where we get to show you some of these data highlights. When Mount Pearl sent all their data in, and we took it to the third-party verifier, and we came back to look at all of the data in comparative perspective, both in Canada and globally. As you know, we have cities all around the world in our network, 100 cities in 35 countries, but some of the ones like Helsinki and Oslo and Rotterdam in Europe and Melbourne and Boston and Dubai and Buenos Aires. You know, when we start to look at our Canadian cities in global perspective, it's so exciting for us, and we wanted to pull together with your staff going back and forth over the last month or so, some really what would we call them, congratulatory highlights. And these are celebratory data points. So I'm just going to show you a few of them, but some of you may already have seen this flipbook data-driven insights report that we're sending to you for publication at your leisure. Okay, so here we go. Next one. The first thing that really stood out was this whole incredible place to live and work in Mount Pearl. Next slide, please. So a couple of the indicators we were looking at, did the demographics snapshot first of all, and then we moved into the next one, please. Next slide. In how we look at this whole growing sustainably. Number of businesses in Mount Pearl, when normalized per 100,000, it's doing, the city of Mount Pearl is doing extremely well on this number. Relative to other cities in Canada in this project, you're really leading in terms of number of businesses once normalized per 100,000. And the next slide, please. And in terms of growing sustainably, also growing as a very inclusive city. This is affordable housing. Your number is really high in Canada and globally on this 81% of people living in affordable housing in your city. That's a truly remarkable number that I want to say congratulations to you on. It shows ability for people to move to your city, to be included, to have good housing, and to also find jobs, because your businesses are also growing and have an incredible sustainable trajectory there in terms of economic development. Next slide, please. This one really stood out because while it's 66 kilometers of bike paths and lanes across the city of Mount Pearl, when that number gets normalized, this is an outstanding number as well. Could you go to the next slide, please? There you are. It's one of the highest bicycle paths and lanes per 100,000 indicator, and you're far above many of the Dutch cities that really do, go globally and brag about this number. Canadian cities are doing really well. Some of our Canadian cities are doing very well. So there's The Hague just behind you, and Eindhoven in the Netherlands, as well as Helsinki, Melbourne, Edmonton, Charlottetown, Yellowknife. You can see Mount Pearl is a great number. So congratulations on that data point too. It shows an incredible dedication to a really healthy living and alternative mobility patterns in a city, particularly I would say during times of COVID. As you know, in my city in Toronto, we're trying to think about how to help people get back to work in safe ways, and bike paths have become an alternative modal in modal split terms to be able to get to work safely and have an alternative to driving and transit. Okay, next slide, please. Last one I'm going to show you. This one is just truly a celebratory point for all of the Canadian cities in this work. All of the red bars are Canadian cities. This shows a talent pool and a really sustainable economic trajectory around qualified workforce. This is the talent pool in Canadian cities. We didn't know this when we started this project, that we and Canada would be so phenomenal in this data point. We're way above all the other world cities. I mean, even San Diego and the Silicon Valley, tech sector. This is a really incredible number. So we know already that in terms of economic development, our cities are using this to attract investment. And this really does set up a sustainable trajectory for Mount Pearl. There you are as one of the highest cities in the world. So congratulations on that one too. So I'm now going to turn, if we go to the next slide, to the business at hand, which is the certification. And I just want to spend the next minute or two just telling you, this has been a really and fantastic journey for us with the City of Mount Pearl. We've really enjoyed working with your team. Cassie Pittman, Jeremy Schwartz, and Brandon Mullins have been just exemplary in reporting this data in a timely way and really fast tracking this process to get to a platinum certification. Is really in record time. And I can't thank you, the three of you, enough for working with our team. And I know our team loved visiting you and being part of the whole process. So it's been just a great journey. So with that, I just want to say it's my pleasure to award the City of Mount Pearl with WCCD's ISO 37120 Platinum certification. It's the highest level, as James said, of certification possible. And congratulate the City Council and the dedicated staff, Cassie, Jeremy, and Brandon, on this incredible work. We looked forward to the next steps with you all in building this out over year 2 and year 3 and putting the data to use and analytics, and also looking at some of the challenging data points as well to help to situate investment priorities, as well as these celebratory ones that we brought to you today. And we look forward to welcoming more cities in Atlantic Canada. I know many of the mayors have been telling us, and many of the city leaders have been saying, well, what about cities, more cities in Nova Scotia? What about more cities in New Brunswick? And in fact, a few cities in New Brunswick have been contacting us as a result of this project. So we're looking at how to expand to more cities in Atlantic Canada with peer cities, because once you get more Eastern peer cities, maritime cities, that becomes a really great comparative base for you. We're hearing from Edmonton the same thing. Mayor Iveson would like to have more Western cities for his peer groups. So we're hearing demand to increase the number of cities, especially regionally, for a better peer group of comparable benchmarking and learning across these cities with this apples to apples data. And we hope that Mount Pearl will also consider the new expanding the data set. So expanding the cities, but also look at expanding the data set to the resilience indicators and possibly SMART, which are very timely these days in terms of COVID. So with that, I want to then just say Mount Pearl reported 93 of the 104 indicators. If we could move to the next slide. And it gives me great pleasure to mark this truly exceptional achievement. You've showcased a commitment to a data-driven future for your citizens, and it indicates your innovative leadership in this whole local government scene in Mount Pearl. The local governance is so distinguished because of your dedication to building this culture of data in the city. We're really, you make a wonderful partner for us. So on behalf of all of us at the WCCD, I'd like to congratulate the dedication of the council and the city staff to open, standardized, and comparable city data. This standardized data will help to increase the quality of life for all citizens while driving evidence-based decision-making and data-driven solutions for the city. The City of Mount Pearl stands out in Canada and globally as a leader in working to create a sustainable, a more resilient and inclusive and a prosperous future for all your residents. So congratulations once again on this ISO Platinum certification. And I wish you all a very nice, I guess, evening at this point, I should say afternoon and evening, to wish you well. Thank you very much for being part of this team. We really enjoy working with you.
Wow.
And
Well, that
congratulations.
was very nice. And through the power of technology, this just arrived.
Oh.
Sorry for the glare, but that's our certification.
That's
So
perfect. And it's
Fantastic.
framed.
we are
You got
extremely
it
smart
framed.
city, and there was a knock on my door, and lo and behold, here it was. So
Fantastic.
thank you, Dr. Patricia. I don't know how you managed to do that, but it was incredible.
Magic.
Yes. Well, folks,
I wish
sorry,
we could
go ahead.
shake your hand, but and present it in person. But next year, second year.
Well, I was going to say that and extend an open invitation to all of you folks that we welcome everyone here in the city of Mount Pearl. So when this COVID relaxes, maybe you can come down and be our guests,
be
and we'll
back.
show you around in our 66 kilometers of trails, and we'll show you some of the highlights. So, I mean, I don't know about the rest of my council members and my fellow senior staff members here, but my chest was starting to swell there. I think I popped a couple of buttons actually, so they may have to be sewn on. But Mount Pearl obviously is proud to join the global network of over 100 cities, as Dr. Patricia mentioned. Cities such as London and Boston and Amsterdam and Dubai and Buenos Aires. So thank you to our team. Again, we say it often on council. We are successful as a council because of the dedicated staff that we have behind us. We develop the policy, we come up with the ideas, and they implement. But many times they bring novel ideas to us as well. So I just want to take this opportunity to extend sincere congratulations and sincere thanks on behalf of all of our residents to Cassie, to Jeremy, and to Brandon. I know Miss Mona Lewis too is at the helm coordinating all of this. So a job well done again. So we are just so proud. Visitors that come to our city and our residents themselves, they talk about the sense of community that's in our city, and the focus for our council, and Councillor Stoles can speak to this because she's been around for 25 years or so. That's always been a focus of successive councils, was create a sense of community, create a place that people like to call home. And I think we are just continuing the great work of our former councils to do that. So we sort of know in our hearts that Mount Pearl is a great place to live, and we are also very proud to tell people when we travel across Canada or across the world that we are from the city of Mount Pearl, a city of 25,000, but a beautiful place to live. But when we get the data to back up what we already knew, it was very, very reassuring, and it was just so nice to hear. So I just want to thank again our staff for all the work they did, and thank you to the World Council on City Data, and of course the Federal Ministry of Infrastructure and Communities for the support, the genuine support that you extended to the city of Mount Pearl in making us a more informed, data-driven based city. So we like to use our data to educate our decisions, and this project has certainly helped us to improve in that. So our sincere thanks to you guys.
It was money well spent. You've got a lot to be proud of there at Mount Pearl, that's for sure.
Well, thank you so much. I don't know if Councillor Antle or Councillor Fry are members of our standing committee on corporate services, if they'd like to say a few words. Councillor Antle?
Deputy Mayor, yes, it certainly is a proud day. I already undid my button, so we're so happy. As co-chair of the corporate and economic development team, we have the privilege of working with Director Pittman every single day, or not every day, but pretty close. And Cassie and her team, Jeremy and Brandon, they go above and beyond. I mean, it's really great to see these guys in action. And, we're getting ready to start our budget discussions, and the more information that they can bring to the table, the better decisions we can make. And, I think Brandon went it was at this nearly daily to make sure that we make good decisions to know how we're going to spend our money, the residents' money. This comes from driving economic development to achieving our climate change objectives. This certification is certainly going to help us steer the path to make better decisions for the city of Mount Pearl. We now have more accurate and more consistent data to help inform our budget discussions. It's one of the things we're going to talk about again tonight, and where to make investments in the city of Mount Pearl and make it a great place to live, like you talked about, live, work, and play. And thank you very much for our team. We're quite proud of you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Antle. Councillor Fry, did you want to chime in here?
Well, I think between Councillor Antle and yourself, you said everything. I mean, this is such a proud moment for us because, as the deputy mayor said, we've known all along, like we feel it in our hearts. We see it in the community when we're out and about, when we're at community events, when we're walking the trails, when we're talking to our residents. We have the most amazing residents. And it's to hear the data that supports what we've known all along in our hearts. It's kind of validating in many ways. And we thank you for this opportunity. You know, we thank our staff who have done a tremendous job, and thank you guys for the opportunity to participate in something like this. It's truly an honor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Fry. Councillor Stolz, would you like to say a few words? You're on mute. Yeah, just unmute. There you go.
I didn't think I was on mute.
Great.
As I've always said, Mount Pearl has always been the best place to live and the best place to raise a family. We've strived on this over the years, and it's great to see that we have a great team of staff working with us all and behind, and always got our back. And it's a great achievement today for the city of Mount Pearl. And as Councillor Fry said, everything has been said. I want to say thank you to all the staff for all the efforts that they have put into this. And we have 66 kilometers of trails, and I'm sure we're going to have more. Hopefully it'd be great if we can hit the 100 mark one of these years. So that's hopefully what we're going to strive for.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Stolz. All right, folks. Well, thank you again to Mr. Andy Fillmore, Dr. Patricia McCarney, and Mr. James Patava. We truly appreciate you making the time to join us here today, and we really, really appreciate this recognition.
Thank you so much.
The invitation is open. Anytime you come down to Canada's Far East, be sure to drop in and say hello, and we'll happily show you around.
You can count on it. Thank you so much, everyone.
All right. Thank you again, guys.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Congratulations.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, Council, that was very, very nice, I have to say. Very nice indeed. So I will bring that to City Hall, and we will find out a place to showcase that wonderful certification here. So that then brings us to our formal agenda for September 22nd of 2020. So if we begin, if I can ask for an adoption of the agenda as presented. Moved by Councillor Stolz, seconded by Councillor Antle. Call the question. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried. Okay, then we'll have a look at adoption of the minutes for the meeting of September 8th, our last public council meeting. Can I get a motion to adopt those minutes? Moved by Councillor Fry, seconded by Councillor Stolz. Okay, are there any errors or omissions in the minutes of September the 8th? Errors or omissions? None noted. Let's call the question then. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried. Okay, that brings us on then to business arising, and business arising from the minutes or the action report from our meeting of September the 8th of 2020. And I would ask that you identify the number of the item, should you wish to bring anything up. Any new business arising there, Council? None noted? Okay. Well, that then brings us on to proclamations and presentations. We just had that wonderful presentation. And we do have a couple of proclamations here, Council, that I wish to read into the record, and then we'll provide an opportunity for members to speak to these. The first is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. And whereas there are about 10,000 children living with cancer in Canada today, and whereas each year about 1,600 cases are diagnosed, over 25 of which are children of our province of Newfoundland and Labrador. Whereas in Canada, childhood cancer remains responsible for more deaths from 1 year of age through adolescence than any other disease. And whereas about 1 in 4 children who are diagnosed with cancer will die of the disease. Whereas because of significant advances in therapy, 78% of children diagnosed with cancer will survive 5 years or more, an increase of almost 46% since the 1960s. And whereas childhood cancers have close to a 75% cure rate, with leukemia leading the success charge with close to 90% overall cure rate. Now, therefore, I, Deputy Mayor Jim Locke, on behalf of the City of Mount Pearl, do hereby proclaim September of 2020 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in the City of Mount Pearl. And I will certainly sign this proclamation, and I will pass it on to our friends at the Candlelighters, Newfoundland and Labrador. Council, would anybody like to say a few words with respect to this proclamation? Please, Councillor Stoyles.
I just want to say a big thank you to the group of people who organise and run the group Candlelighters. One of the biggest fundraisers every year is Camp Delight, and Chess is one of our local businesses here in Mount Pearl, is a major sponsor behind that event, and they do some great work with a camp every year for children who are survivors of cancer. They take sometimes the whole family up on that camp. My understanding is they did it this year, a small group, and it's something that they continue to go. So there's always a need for the support of this organization. They normally have the big event. I haven't heard if it was on this year because they always have the big fundraiser for Camp Delight, and I haven't heard if it's on. So I'm going to have to check and see if that's on, because normally they would be in and they would talk about the events that they're having. And if I had to think of it, I would have reached out to them, but I will reach out to them in the next couple of days and let everybody know for the next meeting if the events are taking place.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Stoyles. Anyone else? No? Okay. Well, that brings us to our next proclamation. And this one involves World Breastfeeding Week. Whereas breastfeeding is recommended for optimal nutrition and healthy growth and development in the early months and years of life, and is fundamental to the well-being and prosperity of communities. And whereas breastfeeding has an impact on lifelong health, with exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months and continued breastfeeding for 2 years and beyond, ensuring that mothers and children receive maximum health benefits. And whereas breastfeeding is one of the most cost-effective prevention strategies for many infections and chronic and acute diseases, and whereas infant feeding is one of the most important decisions that a new family makes, and parents need the support of family, friends, regional health authorities, peer-to-peer support groups, municipalities, community groups and organizations, businesses, and employers. And whereas World Breastfeeding Week provides an opportunity for people to come together to celebrate and to raise public awareness about the importance of breastfeeding and the role everyone can play in normalizing breastfeeding. And whereas the theme for Breastfeeding Week 2020 in Newfoundland and Labrador is Support Breastfeeding for a Healthier Planet. This theme highlights the impact of infant feeding on the environment with respect to climate change and the need to protect, to promote, and to support breastfeeding for the health of the planet and its people. Therefore, I, Deputy Mayor Jim Locke, proclaim October 1st to the 7th of 2020 as World Breastfeeding Week in the City of Mount Pearl. And again, I will sign this and pass it off to our friends at the World Breastfeeding Organization, Baby Friendly Newfoundland and Labrador. And I've done that, and we'll get it to the folks here. Would anyone like to speak to this particular proclamation? Council? No? I won't mind saying a few words. As you know, we were just blessed with the arrival of our third grandchild in August. And I have to say my daughter-in-law, well, my daughter, she has breastfed the 3 of our children, and she is so comfortable, it is so normal, and it's nice to see that my wife breastfed my 2 boys as well, and this is 30 years ago. And then it wasn't as accepted. It was still a little bit awkward in public places and all this sort of stuff. But it's nice to see the change that has taken place, so that we welcome it at our city facilities. More restaurants are open to it. I know they just passed a motion in the House of Assembly allowing mothers to bring their babies to the house, or parents to bring their babies to the house. So it's nice to see the change there and the benefits that breastfeeding have for the developing child and for the mother And I know it's not easy for all women to do that. But the hope is that with continued support and normalizing this, that make it a little bit easier for mothers to consider breastfeeding their child. So I just wanted to highlight that. I know we've brought this in every year, my time on council, at least for the last number of years. And I do remember folks coming in and mothers coming in with their children during our council meetings. So I just wanted to speak to that. I think it's a great proclamation. I'm proud to have read it into our record and signed it for us. Okay, members of council, that brings us now to our standing committees. And first up, we have Corporate Services and Economic Development Committee report. And our two co-chairs are Councillor Fry and Councillor Antle. So who will lead the charge today? Councillor Antle, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Now we have to pay the bills. We had such a good meeting, and now we have to make sure everything's all paid. And right now we have 34 invoices to pay for for the past 2 weeks, and they total $2,919,692.57. And if you look in your kit, you can see a couple of those, a couple of big ones there, almost $1 million for Dexter Construction for Glendale Avenue. And Glendale Avenue is coming along quite nicely right now. Everything's moving ahead as it should, and we should have it all completed before the end of October. There's also a couple of big ones there for the Topsail Road for $206,000. And there's several there for some of our new equipment. We have a new rear loading garbage truck for $288,000 and a new recycling truck for $388,000. So it doesn't take long to run and rang up almost $3 million to pay. And I so move.
That's moved by Councillor Antle and seconded by Councillor Fry. Comments or questions? Okay, let's call the question. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you, Councillor Antle.
And the payment register for the time period of September 9th to September the 16th totals $1,605,000 and $70.10. And you can see that in your kit. A couple of them is the same thing. Ware's Construction for $492,000 and change. Modern Paving for $232,000 and change. You know, we're paying our bills. We're making sure those roads are done and we pay our bills. And I so move. I don't think there's no moving, just for your FYI.
That's an FYI. Thank you.
And that's everything from our committee.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Antle. Well, our next committee then is the Community Development Committee report. And co-chairs on this are Councillor Fry and Councillor Antle. And I will turn it over to Councillor Fry. I see the smile on her face, which tells me she's going to lead the charge here. Councillor Fry, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. First thing on our agenda, today may be the first day of fall, but tomorrow is National Tree Day, September the 23rd. And for the information of public, National Tree Day for the year 2020 is September 23rd, which is an important day for tree lovers across Canada. It's a day to celebrate the critical role that trees play in improving our health and our lives, and to appreciate the great benefits that trees provide us with, including clean air, creating habitat for wildlife, reducing energy demand, their ability to manage stormwater, and for connecting us all with nature, all of which are important to our well-being. But the reason why we're most drawn to trees is because of their inherent beauty. The benefits of trees are numerous. On this day, we encourage residents to get outside and admire the natural beauty of our city and to appreciate trees in all their unique magnificence. And as we just heard from our friends, we have 66 kilometers of beautiful trails and lots of places to go and enjoy. So therefore, be it resolved that we, the Council of the Municipality of Mount Pearl, do hereby recognize Wednesday, September the 23rd as National Tree Day. So we encourage everybody to get out tomorrow. Hopefully the weather will be better, and just enjoy the day.
Well, that's great. And Council, would anyone like to speak to that particular motion? No, I would like to speak to it because I know Council has talked about in our strategic plan about the need for an urban forestry plan. You know, for years, City of Mount Pearl has been known as a city within a park. And we have, you know, all these trees, acres and hectares of trees all around us. But I'd like to see, you know, and I know Council has discussed this, a management plan for that. For example, I know that we're involved now with some tree trimming along Smallwood Drive extension here to thin it out. And our Powers Pond Park is beautiful. The walking trails down around the Waterford River, they're beautiful. So we have all these little park-like areas in the city. But each year we have the death of trees. Trees are broken during snow removal or wind episodes or what have you. So I'd like to see a dedicated plan as we move forward, and we'll talk about this at budget, to ensure that the trees that we have enjoyed, that I have enjoyed in Mount Pearl for the last 53 years, that when my grandchildren grow, that there's a replacement of trees. So we need to manage our trees effectively, and Councillor Fry so eloquently described the benefits of trees for stress relief, for mental health, for sense of community, even for speed calming on roads. We've learned at a recent convention that I attended, a conference, that trees along roads actually cause people to slow down and reduce speed. So the benefits of trees are numerous. So I'm delighted that you brought this in today, Councillor Fry, and I will be enjoying the trees in the city of Mount Pearl tomorrow. So thank you.
And that's one thing we do have as well, in a lot of our neighborhoods, we have mature trees, which just make it beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next on our agenda is the scheduling a swim. So at this time, we're not offering public swims like aqua fitness classes, birthday parties, private rentals, and use of sauna, slide, or diving board. But the Summit Pool will be offering individual lane swimming and limited bubble swims. So anybody interested can visit our city's website for further details on scheduling. The fall 2020 registered fitness classes have been posted online, and fitness members can pre-book a workout time. Again, for further details, please visit our city's website at mountpearl.ca. Also, we have Seniors Noon Skating, which is returning at the Mount Pearl Glacier. So for the information of the public, the Senior Noon Skating will resume on Monday, October the 5th, and the skating season will take place in Glacier Rink 1, and this will be from 12 noon to 1:30 p.m. Monday to Friday weekly. So we encourage seniors to get out and enjoy some physical activity in a beautiful environment with lots of friends. Next on our agenda, we have our development permit list for the period of September the 7th to the 18th. The committee recommends that the following development permit be approved as presented for this period. So we have a couple here. We have the Salvation Army for an open air assembly use. We have Intrepid Digital Design for a home office. Rely on New Tech Canada, which is an expansion of a training facility. Up the Arm Embroidery for a home office. Carwood Contracting Limited, the extension of a development permit for a 48-unit condominium building development. Caramar Holdings Limited for subdivision of land. And Project Success Center Inc. for a home office. And I so move.
Moved by Councillor Fry, seconded by Councillor Antle. Comments or questions? Call the question. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried.
It's really wonderful to see development permits. Next on our agenda, we have our building permit and occupancy permit listing for the period of September the 8th to the 18th. The committee recommends that the building permits issued for this period of September the 8th to the 18th, showing a total construction value of $489,700 be approved. And further, that the occupancy permit list be accepted as presented. And these are here listed in your kit. If anybody has any questions.
Okay, moved by Councillor Fry, seconded by Councillor Antle. Comments or questions? All right, let's call the question. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried.
And that's it for our committee report this week.
Thank you, Councillor Fry. Okay, our next committee report is Infrastructure and Public Works, and I'll turn it over to Councillor Stoyles to lead the way here.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The first item we have on our agenda is going to be deferred, which is our snow clearing. We want some staff and yourself, Deputy Mayor, want to talk about some of the fees and that for snow clearing and that. So we're going to defer that until the next meeting. The first item we have is the maintenance agreement for our elevators and accessible lifts. Currently, we have at City, we have 4 elevators, City Hall, Summit Center, and the Glacier. And we also have accessible lifts at City Hall, Glacier, Campier Gymnastics, and Park Place. And our staff have worked diligently to look at the contract that was in place, and because we had 2 different companies bidding, coming in doing the maintenance on this. So staff have put in place a new maintenance agreement, and the maintenance agreement will be in place from 2020 to 2024, and 2020 the amount is 12,355.28. 2021 is 12,725.94. 2022 is 13,107.71. 2023 is 13,595, and 2024 is 13,905.97. And that's a 3% increase every year. And we're recommending that the contract will be to OSIS Canada, and I so move.
Moved by Councillor Stoll. Can I ask Councillor Fry to be the second for this as well? Okay, seconded by Councillor Fry. Any comments or questions? Okay, call the question. All those in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried.
The next item we have is change order number 4 from Madam PEAR in CP2. Of course, the city is doing the work down at St. David's Park, putting in an accessible playground and that. And the change order is for, it's called an electric trench, and the cost of it is $8,883.75. And this electric trench is essential for, you know, the accessible for the bathrooms and for the accessible playground. And we're recommending that this will happen while we're down there doing the work. It was important that we would get this work done, and I so move.
Moved by Councillor Stoyles, seconded by Councillor Fry. Comments or questions? None. Call the question. All those in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried.
And the next item is the turf replacement at the Richard Lavanier Field. This year where the men's softball didn't play because of COVID and the delays, there was some activities down there towards the end of the summer, but the field was in desperate need to be replaced. And the city received 4 bids, and we're recommending that the award be going to the lowest bid, which is Nutrilon, in the amount of $91,419.25. And this work, the scope of the work will be under warranty for 1 year after it's done. And of course, it includes, you know, taking up the old sods and replacing them with nursery sods, and hopefully the field will be opened hopefully as early as possible next year. It depends on the winter we get and how bad the winter is going to be, is when they can actually play on it in the spring. Depends on how much water, I guess, is on it. Like, it has to really dry out and that. And according to our engineering staff and the people who have looked at this, we want to make sure that it's done a good job and it's going to last for years to come. Anyway, I so move.
It's moved by Councillor Stoyles and it's seconded by Councillor Fry. Councillor Antle, do you have a comment or question?
Yes, Your Worship. I think it's a great project. I mean, I was down there yesterday and I was up watching the guys working, all right? And one thing is I do notice that we're taking up all the old sods and we're going to reuse them somewhere again within the city. So even though the sods are coming up and they might be good for the softball field, but we can certainly use them somewhere else. You know, that field was in deplorable shape. I don't know why we happened to it to begin with, but, you know, it was unsafe to play on almost. Right. But now I think the work that's going through with our director of infrastructure spent his time, him and his team spent his time to make sure that that tender was up to scratch and that was going to be a first class field when it's done. And thank you very much for your due diligence to make sure that tender was up to scratch. And I think the team, the softball leagues are certainly going to look forward to this field when it's done. And let's hope for a nice mild winter so that everything's going to go well and they can play on the fields, you know, nice and early next summer. Thank you very much for all the work that went into this.
That's great. Thank you, Councillor Antle. Councillor Fry, did you have a comment or? Okay, I saw your finger going up, but that was to second it. I agree, Councillor Antle. This field is very well utilized. you know, from late April, May, right up to, you know, October by, you know, several hundred men in the men's slow pitch softball. And you're right, the field was put in, and over time through compaction, wear and tear, there were some rough spots in the outfield. So this was deemed essential. There's some cost sharing ongoing here. So it's a sort of a cooperation or partnership. So I'm delighted with this, and I too am in favor of this. Okay, let's call the question then. All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion is carried.
I was going to say, Deputy Mayor, that the last year, how happy we are to have such a great group of people involved with the men's ball field, because they are paying their percentage of it's cost sharing money that the city had under our infrastructure money, and men's ball is 70-30 money, and they're paying the 30%. So hats off to them for coming forward, and they want the field done as much as we want it done, and great to see that the men's ball have come forward to help with the cost of this as well.
Indeed. Thank you for highlighting that, Councillor Stoyles. Thank you.
The next item we have is just for information only, and World River Day is Sunday, September the 27th, 2020. And back in 2005, the United Nations launched the World Rivers Day. And back in 1980, in BC, a gentleman by the name of Mark L. How do you pronounce his name, Deputy Mayor?
Angelo?
Angelo.
Yeah, Angelo.
It's Angelo. Certainly was a great advocate for this, and wanted to say how proud we are to recognize World River Day. And this is just for Information Day, and I'm sure people will be talking about it in the media and that over the next couple of weeks. And of course, the other items we have is information only. Bulk garbage, of course, started a couple of weeks ago and is ongoing. So hopefully in the next 3 or 4 weeks, the city will be done again for, basically it was the first time we just had regular bulk garbage pick up, had to call in all over the summer because of COVID, but now every neighborhood is being done at different weeks, and we're so excited to see people are calling all the time, wanting to make sure it's on, because this is time of year people clean up and getting ready for the winter, and we're delighted to see that that's continuing. Tree trimming, of course, is on the way in Smallwood, and staff, of course, is preparing for winter, and water conservation is lower this year than it was in 2019. And also the director sent out an email earlier today about preparing for the storm that's upcoming. When we talked about the hurricanes and hurricane season that we're on, there's a list of things you need to make sure you're prepared to do. If there's water, the thing in front of your house, to make sure there's no leaves or anything in front of it, so the rain can go down in case we get a lot of rain. And just be prepared yourself for a storm. So just wanted to mention that, Your Worship. And also the capital works program are all in the process of being completed now. St. David's Avenue should be completed by September the 30th. Glendale Avenue, again, should be completed by September the 30th. Topsfield asphalt should be finished and completed by September the 25th. Old Placentia Road is going to be a bit later, October the 16th. And all the street markings and everything is already completed. And they just have a few odds and ends to do for completion over the next couple of weeks. And that is it, first, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Stoyles. Councillor Fry, you wanted to make a comment, please?
Yes, I just had a quick question. Well, first of all, I want to say how nice Topsail Road is looking. A nice road with nice line painting, and I'm looking forward to seeing Old Placentia in the same condition. I did have a question, however, regarding the tree trimming on Smallwood Drive. I had a resident ask me the purpose of the tree trimming there. So, Director Antle, is it to remove dead trees? Like, what's the purpose of the tree trimming there?
Thanks, Councillor Fry. The purpose is to do maintenance of the trees that are there. So I think Deputy Mayor spoke to it earlier as well. So it takes care of some of the trees that are dead and broken, some of the branches that have been damaged. So we're trying to do there is thin them, remove some of the deadfall, and essentially allow it to be healthier for future growth for the trees that are still remaining in that area of the city. So that area of the city is quite very nice. There's not too many areas we have that have, wide road spaces like that. We have trees on the side of them. So that's one we want to actually maintain quite well.
Yeah, it looks lovely. It looks very nice and neat. I think this particular resident was just more concerned because their property is backing onto Smallwood Drive. And because the trees provide such a natural buffer to the traffic and the noise of a busy road, they were just wondering what the purpose of it was.
Sure.
But yeah, it looks lovely.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. It does look lovely. And I noticed as well, Director Antle, that we seem to have chipped up the branches and generated it back in towards the floor of the trees there. Opening up the trees obviously will allow more sunlight in as well, which will enhance, younger trees to grow. So that's a part of our, tree management and again, to ensure that that forest continues there. Hopefully we'll do some tree planting, in the future we'll assess it. And if more trees need to be planted in there, maybe we can put some little seedlings in there.
Definitely.
Thank you, Councillor Fry. I wanted to highlight or speak to a couple of points that Councillor Stoll spoke to. And the World Rivers Day on September 27th. That is a day that I look forward to every year. And I know, pre-COVID, we did some initiatives. We always had the Waterford River cleanup. Like we take pride. This is one of the gems in the city of Mount Pearl. We have a beautiful water running through the spine of our city. And we, 10 or 15 years back, decided to take the bull by the horns and say, we're going to clean this up. And I know, Director Antle, on one World Rivers Day, we did an initiative where we took out mounds and mounds of garbage. And we did that with the intention of showing our residents the refuge and garbage and litter that ends up in our rivers. Sometimes it's accidental, but I know we took out trampolines and we took out commercial activities and we took out, signage, plastic signs and all that sort of stuff. So I just want to take this opportunity to stress, as I always have over the years, that the city of Mount Pearl doesn't belong to city council or senior staff. The city of Mount Pearl belongs to all residents within the city. And we all have a responsibility to ensure that our beautiful natural ways stay beautiful and natural. So we all need to do our part to make sure that stuff does not end up in the river. My wife and I were out for a walk a couple of weeks back along the river. And she commented, she said, Jim, you have to see just how clear and pristine our river water was. And that just made me so happy. There's still work to be done because inevitably garbage and litter in the wind ends up in the rivers. So we still need to maintain it. But I long for the day when we have a healthy salmon stock coming back to the Waterford River, like used to be in the 1940s. Some of the older residents told me that they used to trout and catch salmon on the Waterford River. So maybe we'll get it to that condition once again, where the salmon will deem it suitable to come up and have their young. So I just wanted to mention that. Councillor Stoll's also mentioned about preparedness, and good on her for doing that with Teddy coming. This is typically when we get these tropical storms or, heaven forbid, stronger systems in the hurricane category. But it was nice for Councillor Stoll's to remind folks to take some action personally. Have an emergency kit in your house. Make sure you have bottled water. Make sure you have, your batteries if you're using, battery operated flashlights. Make sure you got some canned food. Take measures to tie down loose products if there's wind coming, like if you got lawn chairs or barbecues or what have you. And as Councillor Stoll said, if you got a catch basin out in the front of your property, and our staff do a tremendous job, but they may clean up one day and the very next day you may get an abundance of leaves. So again, take the initiative, clear the leaves from our catch basins, and that everyone again will be doing their part to help keep the city safe and get through the weather episodes that occur. All right, thank you, Councillor Stoltz. That's it for our committee reports. So now that brings us to new business, and I will start tonight with Councillor Stoltz. Any new business?
Thank you. Thank you. I do have actually a couple of things. First of all, I
Okay.
do want to certainly pass along my sympathy to Harvey Hatter's family, to Pearl, and I mean, anybody that lived in Mount Pearl for any length of time certainly knew Mr. Hatter. I certainly knew him very well as when he served on council, and again when he was an MHA and Speaker of the House, and a number of times he would call me about certainly different issues with the city. And I know one particular thing was the water problems they were having with the end of the line stopping down in the corner of his street. And he was always a gentleman. Anytime Mr. Hatter called, he spoke very highly of everybody in the staff at City Hall. He never ever had a bad word to say about anybody. He was always so gentle and so happy-go-lucky. So he's certainly going to be missed by all his family and friends. And I certainly want to acknowledge him. I was at the funeral home on Sunday evening, and I have to say it was certainly sad to hear of his passing. I mentioned in the public, at the meeting about Camp Delight. Camp Delight, I did get a message back, is not having a major fundraiser this year. They normally have a big dinner at CLB where they raise most of the money for their camps, and that is not going ahead. Also, what I wanted to mention was at the last meeting, we talked about Herb and Loretta Jenkins on their 50th anniversary. Well, I contacted Miss Lewis, and Miss Lewis did a lovely certificate for Herb and Loretta, and I hand delivered it. And Herb actually came to my house yesterday afternoon around 4 o'clock and said, "Lucy, please thank Mona and the city for being so kind to remember us." And I mean, Herb has certainly spent many years volunteering with soccer and everything in the city. And he was just so delighted that someone took the initiative to get a certificate for him. And he was very, very happy and appreciative of the city doing that. And also I attended anniversary, a 50th anniversary for Jim and Gloria Myers, who are longtime residents of Mount Pearl. And on Saturday, I attended their anniversary party, and I was delighted to do so and presented them with a certificate on behalf of the city. And anybody in the city that's having a 50th anniversary or having a special occasion, I know some people do call us. We're only delighted to do up a certificate and deliver it or attend the function, because that's what we like doing. Also, this past Sunday, I attended the Urban Towns, and I'm waiting now to get the minutes of the meeting to pass them on to the rest of the council, and I'm sure it will be all in the committee to hold in the next couple of weeks. But they had some great speakers, and what was so nice about going to the Urban Towns and attending, of course, was all virtual. It started Sunday morning, 9 o'clock, and we were on until just a little after 2. So it was a full day. Normally when you would go to the Urban Towns, I haven't been there in a number of years, it would be a 2-day event. You would get together on a Friday night, and all day Saturday you would have your meetings, and it was always very informative. Well, it never changed, because all the towns went around talking about what they were doing and their challenges with COVID and what they're doing. And I guess the biggest news that a lot of the towns were talking about was the cost of asphalt and how cheap it was this year and how much extra work they've gotten done in their towns getting the road work done. And I have to say, it was great that not only in Mount Pearl, because Director Antle has praised up and saying how much more we're getting done this year because of the prices, and every other community has reaped the benefits of that as well. And I wanted to mention that as well. And I've already mentioned the pre-weather storm and the hurricanes. Hopefully we won't be too bad. And I think that is it for me, Your Worship.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Stoyles. Let's move on to our next lady on council, Councillor Fry.
Thank you. I have a couple of things this evening. First of all, I just want to acknowledge that some webinars that are coming up. So the City of Mount Pearl, in partnership with the YMCA St. John's, or YWCA St. John's, is hosting a webinar series called Diversity Matters, Driving Change in Newfoundland and Labrador Politics. And we invite people to join us for an engaging discussion on diversity and representation in Newfoundland and Labrador politics and how people can get involved. So we're hosting 2 sessions. One is tomorrow night and one is next Wednesday night. The one tomorrow night is Why Diversity Matters in Politics. This one is hosted by Dr. Amanda Bittner, And the session will talk about elections, representation, and diversity, and will challenge us to think a little bit more about what politics ought to look like in a healthy democracy. So that's tomorrow evening. It starts at 7 p.m. So far, we have 42 registrants, which is fabulous. And people can still register. They can still attend, but they have to register in advance. And that can be found on our social media, on Mount Pearl social media page on Facebook. Also, the next session will be next Wednesday evening, and that's titled Running for Political Office 101. And this one is co-hosted by Caitlin Urquhart and Jelena Lewis. And the session will build on the first session. After getting motivated to make a change to run for office, where do you even begin? After managing successful municipal campaigns, Jelena and Caitlin will share their experiences, successes, and recommendations on how to run for political office. So that's next Wednesday evening, September the 30th, and it starts at 7 p.m. Again, people can participate, but registration is required. And so far, we have 22 people registered for that, which is great to see.
Good, good.
They're free of charge, but as I said, registration is required. So to register, people can visit the City of Mount Pearl website or our Facebook page for more information. So that's really exciting. Also, as Councillor Stoyles mentioned about the storm season reminders that were sent out today, just wondering, Director Pittman, can we maybe do something on our social media so residents can go and have a look to see some suggestions of how they can prepare, because this is storm season now. And while we do have the tropical storm coming our way or heading towards us, there likely will be others or could be others. So maybe just something where residents can have a point of contact to go and have a look.
It's up there now.
Oh, good.
Yep.
All you got to do is ask.
There you go.
She
Wow.
is that good.
Wow. Wow.
Consider it done, hey?
That's it, Councillor Stoyles. That's
Consider
it.
it done.
That is impressive. Scary. She's even reading my mind now. Okay, next for me, I just want to acknowledge, coming up this Sunday, the Sport Alliance is holding another bingo. There was one last Sunday, which was well attended, and from all accounts, people had a great time. And this is an important way to raise funds in a difficult environment. You know, as we all know, different organizations and charities are having struggles now with cancellation of their regular fundraising events. So I encourage everybody to get out to this bingo. It's something to do. It's a fun night, and it's for a great cause, and it helps the sport, our wonderful sporting community, because we do have a very vibrant sporting community.
Nothing better than being on the hitch.
Well, yes, there is.
Yeah.
Calling bingo.
That's true, I suppose. That's true, yeah.
Being on the hitch is, yeah.
You gotta win though, you gotta win.
You gotta win.
Exactly. It can be frustrating. On September the 16th, myself and Councillor Stoyles attended a lovely event at, it started at St. John's City Hall, and as well as our City Hall, we lit up our City Hall for the first time in teal lights for World Ovarian Cancer Awareness Day. And I know I've mentioned her name before, but Susan Glynn is truly extraordinary in the work that she's doing. So it was really, I was really proud to be there and supporting her. And she does great work. And finally, for me, I just want to say a happy 90th birthday to a very special lady. Betty Noseworthy is celebrated her 90th birthday yesterday. And she's a sweetheart. So I just want to say happy birthday, Betty. And that is it for me this evening.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Fry. Last but certainly not least, although often left from the pictures, is Councillor Antle. Please, Councillor Antle.
Well, you know, I don't mind being last. At least I got the chance to piggyback on everybody else.
Yeah.
And I liked how we talked about the storm and getting prepared and how we are all different. You talked about having cans of fruit and water, while I think about more storm chips and beer. Right? But we're all prepared for the storm. So, you know, it's one of those things.
Yeah.
Just a quick note. I'd like to send out a congratulations. Most of us from members of council did attend Sandra Milmore. She had the Sovereign's medal for volunteers given to her this week at Government House. And I think all of us dropped by her house to pass on our congratulations to Sandra. You know, Sandra Milmore has been involved in so many things within the city. Nearly every single event we go to, Sandra shows up. And just recently, I read an article that Sandra, she's quite involved with St. Vincent de Paul and into food banks. And she wrote an article, and it was a well-written article, went right across Canada, where Sandra talked about the city of Mount Pearl and our community food group and how we all got together and, you know, with this COVID, tried to figure out how a food bank was going to work. But the whole article was so well written that Sandra was so well respected right across Canada, not just here in the province of Newfoundland or the city. She's so well, you know, people know Sandra. And so congratulations from all council to everything that Sandra has done. As Lucy stated, we lost Harvey Hodder this week, and we all know Harvey so well, and we all have a story with Harvey. And I was surprised to think that Harvey started with the city in the city of Mount Pearl in 1969. And, you know, I think most of us all know Harvey. I know Harvey most of my life. But when I decided to run, I think we all might have did this. I went up to Harvey's house. And no matter how busy he was, but I was out in his backyard and we walked around his yard. And if you ever walked around his yard, it's a beautiful yard and it's like a park. But I must have been there for, you know, a couple of hours. He didn't want me to leave, but he gave me so much advice, you know, an advice that I'm sure he'd give anybody running for council. As Councillor Fries was just talking about this symposium that's coming up, Harvey was such a wealth of knowledge to everybody. And he's certainly going to be missed up. You know, like Councillor Storr said, I don't know anybody had a bad word to say about Harvey, and he had a bad word to say about anybody. He was such a nice guy. He certainly will be missed. Sports Alliance, the bingo last week was so much fun. Myself and Councillor Storrs were selling 50-50 tickets. I found out that Councillor Storrs is a professional ticket seller. All right. She taught me so much how to sell those tickets. I'm telling you now, you just sit with Lucy. She knows how to sell tickets. And it was fun, you know, even with everybody who had masks on, between Lucy and I, we know so many people, we had to take a guess, you know, like, who's this person? Who's this person? But it was actually fun. I think Lucy and I had a lot of fun with it. And then, you know, out in the park now, playing, blowing the horns and flashing lights, you know, it was a lot of fun. And I think it's coming up again Sunday night, and it's worth the fun. It's worth a bit of fun.
I'm with you again Sunday night.
This is it. Out selling 50-50. It was fun. Today, myself and Councillor Fry have spent an awful lot of time together. All right, so we have been on 3 different Zoom meetings. We started off this morning with the regional fire department, and there's so many things happening with the regional fire department. I'll talk a little bit more about it in committee of the whole. But so many things are happening with the fire department. They're still doing the fire recruiter. So if anybody is interested in joining the fire department, you know, get your application in. The applications are still live, and just send your application in and we'll go from there. Also, as soon as we left that one, we went to the Northeast Avalon and Eastern Health, where we had a COVID update and where the province is to date. And most of the information was on VOCM, and it just kept us up to date. But one of the things they talked about was the flu vaccine and how important the flu vaccine is this year. That we really have to strive to, you know, try to keep people up to date on the flu vaccine, because the flu vaccine, or flu and COVID, is so well connected. We should get the flu vaccine to make sure that we're safe. And that's everything for me, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Entel. I just have a few to bring up. First, just want to, Councillor Fry mentioned all the road work that's being done in the city, Old Placentia Road, Topsail Road. But just a reminder to our residents, our pedestrians, and our motorists in particular, that as you're driving through these areas, please follow the posted speed limits. I know in Old Placentia, there's quite a crew up there that are doing the work there. So just a reminder that, you know, in the city of Mount Pearl, safety is always top priority. So please respect the sign folk that are out and slow down. You know, I know it's a little frustrating sometimes because of the traffic congestion or the slowdowns. But as Councillor Fry said, it'll be well worth it. When this is done, we'll have a beautiful road going from Senate Crescent right over to Richard Nolden Drive. So, you know, it needed to be done, but please, same thing on tops of roads, slow down and be careful as you're driving through there. Also, I'd like to take this opportunity to express condolences to the Ware construction family. We've all heard of the tragedy that happened on Friday, and I just want to take this opportunity to send out our sincere condolences to the family of the gentleman that passed, and also for all the people working with Ware's Construction, because you know, it's like one big family. So I'm sure it hit everybody hard. Some people asked and fully agreed with the fact that there was no work done on Old Placentia Road on Friday. We did that out of respect for what had happened there. So I just wanted to take that moment to pass it on to, again, the family of the individual, as well as the entire Ware's Construction family. Also, I know I spoke earlier of Harvey Hodder, and you were all bringing up memories of Harvey. And like Councillor Antle said, when I was contemplating running for council, I too spoke with Harvey, and you know, he gave you know, pearls of wisdom. No pun on pearl there, but he loved his pearl. And also, my first memory of Harvey Hodder was not as a politician, actually. It had to do with, because he was also a school teacher and the principal of Mount Pearl Central High School. And when my wife graduated high school, and I won't tell you the date, but way back when, Harvey was the principal. And I'll always remember that he cooked breakfast. He and his wife cooked breakfast for the graduates at his house and their guests. So I remember having breakfast like 6:30 in the morning at Harvey Hodder's house. And it was an open door that anybody who wanted to come in. He was just such a beautiful human being. He was a man of integrity, a man of honesty, truly a community leader. So as we all said, he will be dearly missed. And just one last item for me. Today I had the pleasure of attending. I was invited to a provincial roundtable on climate change, risk and opportunities. So it was a Zoom meet this morning from 9:30 till noon. And there was probably 30 participants. It was sponsored by the provincial government and organized by CBCL. So we had 30 participants from all over Newfoundland and Labrador, and from other parts of Canada as well, with the federal government, with FCM. So it was quite a fascinating session. And we looked at 4 themes, and it sort of timed with Teddy coming on our doorsteps here. It had to do with how climate change is going to impact transportation and planning. That was one of the themes we looked at. The importance for urban planning, transportation routes. We looked at infrastructure, asset management, and design, how climate change needs to factor into that. We looked at the issue of flooding and erosion. So I spoke up about our concerns with Waterford River and flood mapping and for future development. And the fourth one was economic, environmental, health, and safety. So I just wanted to highlight I have some information I will bring back to our committee, IPW committee, and committee of the whole. But it was very interesting, very well run, and great insight from people all across the province. And despite the challenges, I was uplifted at the end of this. There was this sense of hope, because once again, it was data driven. So they presented all the current climate data, climate projections, number of frost-free days, number of days of freezing rain, and taking away from it, it wasn't a doom and gloom. It was one of, okay, we got this. We can manage this. Let's work together. Let's use the data, and through proper planning and collaboration and working together, as a region, as a country, we can manage these climate changes that are inevitable. So I just wanted to highlight that for council. And with that, it was a great meeting. It was a proud meeting. I have to say that the presentation was wonderful, and all of our councillors did a wonderful job presenting their committee reports. So I thank you for that. And with that, I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Stoyles and seconded by Councillor Antle. We are adjourned. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.